AI technology, deepfakes, and sensationalized headlines. Even for adults, it's becoming increasingly more difficult to separate what's true from what's false. So how are our kids supposed to know the difference? It's never been more important to teach our kids media literacy and staying safe online. This is the ability to analyze and evaluate the media they consume so they can make informed decisions about what to believe. And today, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. We'll cover some helpful exercises and resources you can use to teach media literacy to your kids. And at the end, they'll learn about the surprisingly sneaky fake news factor that most adults don't even notice. Hi, my name is Ivy. I founded the company Prequel to help kids learn the life skills they need to thrive in the real world, because I saw how kids weren't reaching their full potential in school. One of our core values at Prequel is helping kids learn to think for themselves. And that's exactly what media literacy is. When kids are illiterate in media, it means that they have the ability to think critically about the content in front of them. Is it real? Is it AI? Where did this information even come from? To be clear, there are two types of media in our world today. Traditional media tends to overhype or dramatize events, which is why it's important for kids to learn how to decipher headlines, recognize bias, and review the source material. But traditional media isn't always 100% false, just sensationalized. Social media, on the other hand, is often blatantly false, which is a lot scarier. This is why we call it fake news, and it's a game of deciphering fact from fiction. Recent studies show that fake news now spreads faster and further than actual news. For example, a tweet with false information will be retweeted 70% more than a tweet with true information. So how do we equip our kids with the tools they need to think for themselves? First, start young and start with the basics. Kids growing up in this age of fake news need to develop the skill and the intuition to ask questions about what they're consuming. And like most things, the earlier you start, the better. When it comes to understanding the basics of media literacy, we recommend consuming content with your kids. You cannot only tell them the basics, but you have to show them. So what are the basics? Number one, protecting yourself against scammy ads. You want to help your kid develop the habit of protecting themselves and not blindly trusting everything they hear on the internet. When you stumble across scammy ads, be sure to explain what they are and why they're scammy. These ads often make offers that sound too good to be true. They encourage you to click an unknown link, or they ask for your personal information, like an address or a credit card number, right away. Number two, asking yourself, where did this come from? It's essential that kids understand all content has a source, and not all content comes from an authority or a professional. Social media is like a global game of telephone, that childhood game where a certain phrase is whispered down a long line of people. And by the time the phrase gets to the last person, it almost has nothing to do with the original phrase. We can help kids avoid the telephone game in media by teaching them to ask questions about a source. Recently, a leaked song from pop stars Drake and The Weeknd went viral and over the internet, only for people to realize it was AI the full time. Next time your teen tells you about something they've heard on TikTok that sounds sensational, or like it may not be true, ask them where that information came from. You can even look it up together, separately, away from TikTok. Explain to your kid what are trusted accounts, and how to check out a company's profile, its website, its reviews, etc. before trusting the information. Finally, number three, avoiding clickbait by checking other sources. Clickbait content is designed simply to get you to click, so it boasts dramatic headlines and makes exaggerated promises that doesn't actually deliver. Oftentimes, we don't even read the article, we just trust what the clickbait title says. To avoid clickbait, we naturally need to tap into our critical thinking skills. Mike Caulfield, a digital literacy expert who takes a rather unorthodox approach to clickbait and critical thinking, says and recommends what he calls lateral thinking, which basically means leave it and look elsewhere. Who else performs lateral thinking? Professional fact checkers. Caulfield came up with an acronym called SIFT to help people sift through content like a fact checker. S for stop, I for investigate the source, S for find better coverage, and T for trace claims and quotes to the original context. For example, if you see some news come up through social media or within a community, go Google the news first and read from a trusted source, such as reputable news outlets instead. To recap, 3 basics of media literacy you should be teaching your kids are protecting themselves from scammy ads, asking where did this come from, and avoiding engaging with clickbait by thinking like a fact checker. Again, make sure to consume content with your kids to help establish these basics. It may seem obvious, but try it for fun, like do a quiz on it. If you've watched this far into the video, it's time to reveal a sneaky fake news factor that most adults even fall for. Images. Visual media has a colossal effect on our consumer brains. Why? One of the biggest parts of our brains is called the visual cortex, which affects our attention, our motivation, and our emotions. Images evoke an emotional reaction within us, regardless of the message. This means they got our attention, we're engaged, and we're a lot more likely to believe disinformation. So how do we counter that? J. Francis Davis is a media education specialist who says that images should be interpreted on two levels. The first level is that immediate emotional reaction we have when exposed to media. This is completely natural. But the second level is understanding that media is often trying to get us to feel that way. For example, we see ads all the time trying to sell us a product, whether it be supplements or clothes or insurance or coffee. And the people in the ads are relaxed and smiling, maybe even laying on the beach on vacation or reading a book by the pool. The images almost always have nothing to do with the product itself. They're just trying to evoke that emotional reaction from you so you're more likely to buy it, like you want to be that relaxed person. Fake news is no different, and AI is only making it 1,000 times easier. The sooner we help kids understand that fake news is trying to influence them, the less likely they will be influenced. Thanks for watching today's video on media literacy. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe for more additional ways to help your kids thrive in life and work. You can also sign up for Prequel's weekly newsletter. We give advice and free resources to parents who want their kids to learn the skills to get ahead in school and in life, especially the skills not taught normally in school.